that.
They can't transition. I mean, it was Fermi or Planck, I forget which physicist said that, science advances one funeral at a time. And he was talking about physicists who are like the most truth-seeking, logical people on the planet.
Right.
So when you're talking about like an existing company, it's a classic innovator's dilemma. They have hundreds of billions or trillions of market cap to protect. They have an entire huge user base and developer base that doesn't understand Web3. The incentives are all wrong. All their good people have already left or are leaving to do their own crypto thing. It's funny, back in a couple of years ago when I would talk to people about crypto and they were at a big venture firm, if they were smart, I would say, you're getting into crypto. My prediction is within 2 years, you'll have left this firm because the firm around you doesn't understand it. And that's fine. It has no reason to understand it. They were making a fine living, a very good living, not understanding crypto, the same way Facebook and Google and Apple and so on are making a very fine living, not understanding crypto. And I've been at the highest levels of those companies pitching their top executives, and they smile and nod and they take notes and it's another meeting and they move on. They're just simply not geared for it. And also, it takes a very small number of people to make a huge difference in crypto land because it's a small number of developers at the core, but then they enlist this massive community. The thing goes viral. It doesn't necessarily even need venture capitalists. It doesn't need armies of developers. It doesn't need armies of marketers, and it doesn't need lots of advertisements. These things are incredibly organic. Look at what Twitter is. Twitter is amazing at assembling flash mobs around individuals. Twitter Spaces is amazing in assembling large assemblies of listeners around small groups of individuals. And the same way crypto communities are incredibly good at assembling huge groups of contributors and traders and buyers and investors and users around a small number of developers, many of whom are just working with open source and composable software. So they truly are standing on the shoulders of giants. It's the nature of Web3 development that every problem just has to be solved once. Once the problem is solved once in a really good way, you can fork it. Maybe you have to port it at most, but you use open source and composability to just build on the shoulders of giants over and over and over and over again. And the world has never seen anything like the composability that's possible in Web3. So this space is going to advance through leaps and bounds in ways that I think people's mental models can't even keep up with it. I pay a lot of attention to it. I still have a very hard time understanding what's going on, not because it's inherently wrong or bad or fake. It's just that there's just a lot going on. It moves much, much faster as a frontier than any other space that I've ever paid attention to. So yeah, society's going to have to be left behind and catch up a little bit. The odds of the Web 2 guys pivoting in and having a shot at Web 3, near zilch. I mean, it's only possible if there's a founder at the helm and they bet the company on it, right? Like Bill Gates did with Microsoft and he got somewhere, or Steve Jobs had to famously come back to Apple, or Zuck has done, a couple of times now at Instagram and WhatsApp, and now he's doing with VR and Meta and so on. By the way, I think he's wrong on that one. I don't think he'll succeed. I'll go out on a limb. But I don't think he'll succeed in pivoting to a metaverse Web3 company, just because I don't think the metaverse ends up being owned by any single company. That said, I mean, he may be successful in the sense that he may get to participate in the metaverse that emerges, because like Bill Gates betting Microsoft, they got to participate much more in the internet revolution than they would have otherwise, but they didn't
Right.
get to own the internet. So the same way, I don't think Facebook gets to own the metaverse, so to speak. And I like the definition of metaverse that I think Sean Puri and others were throwing around, which is it's not 3D, it's just more of your life is digital than physical, and more of your value is extracted digitally than physically, and more of your time is spent digital than physical. So in that view of the world, I think Facebook can be a participant, but they're not going to be the owner. And I think if the company is not founder run, they don't have a chance.